Infamous automaton Mark Zuckerberg has been working overtime to bring his Metaverse dream to fruition. And he's noticed, that our lives have already been almost entirely consumed by the internet, to the point where most of us are now essentially cyborgs, half robot, half human, except without any of the cool superpowers that cyborgs in science fiction usually possess. In the movies, a cyborg has all of the best qualities of humans and machines. In reality, we have the worst ingredients of both. So we're fat and lazy like people, but we're also amoral and emotionally vacuous like computers. So we're kind of like mermaids, but if the mermaid had a fish's head and a human's body. It's like the worst possible combination. A combination more monstrous than mythical, I guess. And this is what our near total reliance on and addiction to the internet has done for us. But Mark Zuckerberg has seen all of this and determined that we still have not invested enough of ourselves into cyberspace. And that's where the metaverse comes in. With the metaverse, we can actually enter into the internet, submerge ourselves in it, lose ourselves inside it like a dream, a bad dream. If you've ever visited Reddit, or you've read the comments under a viral tweet, or you scrolled through TikTok and thought to yourself, wow, I wish I could be trapped inside a three-dimensional virtual prison cell with these people, then the metaverse will be right up your alley. But if you're a sane person, you probably feel differently. And yet it doesn't matter how you feel. This is where we're headed. The metaverse it's happening, whether you like it or not. And 15 years from now, you'll be sitting around your virtual dinner table with your virtual family, eating your virtual food, while your physical body is encased in a pod and connected to wires and tubes. And you'll be telling your virtual child who prefers to use a Peppa the Pig avatar all about the old days when the internet was contained almost exclusively inside your phone. And Peppa will laugh and say, "That's silly, Daddy." And you'll pretend to laugh too. And nobody will be able to see you cry because they don't have tears in the metaverse. Because Meta President Mark Zuckerberg has declared that everyone must always be happy inside his domain. Anyway, so the point is that I'm not a big fan of this whole idea, but it's happening anyway. And though the metaverse is still in its infancy, it has already had its first Me Too moment. The New York Post reports, it says a beta tester has claimed that she was virtually groped in the Metaverse VR platform Horizon Worlds from Meta, the company formerly known as Facebook. Meta revealed the incident on December 1st, saying it occurred on November 26th. The woman had reported the assault, in virtual reality, on the Horizon Worlds beta testing Facebook group. Sexual harassment is no joke on the regular internet, but being in VR adds another layer that makes the event more intense, she wrote, according to The Verge. Not only was I groped last night, but there were other people there who supported this behavior, which made me feel isolated in the plaza, the virtual environment's central gathering space. Severe encounters of online harassment, including physical threats, stalking, and repeated harassment, are on the rise, according to a 2020 Pew Research poll, with the percentage of users reporting such incidents jumping from 15% in 2014 to 25% today. While much of it takes place on social media, VR is still nascent and already an apparent venue for harassment. Horizon Worlds, operated by VR company Oculus, which is also owned by Meta. Meta is billed as a pleasant, productive digital escape, a place to create in extraordinary ways and find experiences that matter with your avatar friends. Groped virtually on the internet is what we're dealing with. And that's a pretty serious crime, we have to admit. In fact, it brings back the trauma that I suffered as a child when I was virtually assaulted by a South Asian man with very long arms while playing Street Fighter. At another point, playing a different game, I was virtually cannibalized by a huge yellow head. I have been virtually beaten, shot, stabbed, tortured in all manner of ways. Though I suppose I'm no saint myself, in the same game, Street Fighter, I committed virtual battery against an obese sumo wrestler, which was arguably a hate crime as well, given that the victim was a video game character of color. But then again, my character was green, so I'm not sure how this all works. I don't know how we work out the intersectionality part of that. But anyway, a little bit more from the article. It says, in its statement about the incident, Meta pointed to its Safe Zone feature, which allows users to place a block against interaction with other users. However, the company admitted that it needs to work on making the feature trivially easy and findable, says Vivek Sharma, the vice president of Horizon, in a statement to The Verge. Meta spokesperson Christina Milian also told MIT Technology Review that users are required to complete training that covers safeguarding tools before joining Horizon Worlds, while reminders are also prompted during users' experiences. Sexual harassment in virtual reality is sexual harassment in real life, full stop, experts have said. Quote, at the end of the day, the nature of virtual reality spaces is such that it is designed to trick the user into thinking they are physically in a certain space, that their every bodily action is occurring in a 3D environment. Catherine Cross, a PhD student researcher on online harassment at the University of Washington told Technology Review, quote, "It's part of the reason why emotional reactions can be stronger in that space and why VR triggers the same internal nervous system and psychological responses. Those who have suffered sexual harassment in VR elsewhere say that Meta's safe zone feature isn't enough." Okay, so sexual harassment in virtual reality is sexual harassment in real life, according to experts. It's the same. Now, I wonder if they've asked any actual real-life victims of sexual assault. You know, people who've had their physical bodies violated, not the bodies of cartoon characters on the internet. How do they feel about this? Do they agree that their experience was exactly the same as the experience of somebody whose fake metaverse avatar was fake groped by another fake character in a fake world? I'm guessing they'd say no. Another big difference between real-life assault and virtual assault, these real victims might point out, is that the virtual victim can simply turn off their headset and the problem goes away. No such escape valve exists for the real-life victim, they might remind us. But then again, they aren't the experts. The experts are the experts. And we know who the experts are because they belong to a group called the experts, and the media tells us how they feel about stuff like this. And we're supposed to nod our heads in agreement and say nothing else. Now, this is all quite ludicrous, of course. By definition, you cannot be groped in virtual reality because groping is a physical act. Nothing physical is occurring in that realm. There's a reason we don't prosecute people for vehicular homicide based on incidents that occur in Mario Kart. And yet, at the same time, Catherine Cross, the PhD researcher, she's correct when she says that VR technology tricks the user into thinking they are physically in a certain space. But the key word is tricks. It's not real. They're not actually in that space. Nothing that happens to them in that space is actually happening to them. It's happening to a computer code on a screen. So one computer code is interacting with another computer code. It feels real, but it's not. But the fact that people can be fooled in this way, that doesn't mean that we need more rules or policies or regulations, or that we have to have legal protections put in place for cartoon avatars. We don't need laws that will wind up putting 12-year-olds behind bars for first-degree homicides committed in Call of Duty. That's not the conclusion that we should draw from this. Here is the conclusion: that the internet is often not very good for your brain, and virtual reality will be even worse. The fact that virtual reality tricks you and makes it hard to distinguish between reality and virtual reality is not an argument for treating virtual reality like it's reality. But it may be an argument for not using virtual reality at all. The last thing we need is yet another tool to tear us away from our physical existence and immerse us in a world that is fake but feels real. That's the last thing we need. And that's the lesson here. We don't need more virtual reality. We need more reality. That's the world we should be living in most of the time. So that's why, in the end, I think the metaverse is what we have to cancel today. Well, I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Matt Walsh Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right down there so you can stay up to date on all of our future content.